Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Africa. You know we love you in Canada. We love you no more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful November 7th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south? We're waiting for Big C. I think Big C still having his vote obstructed down south, so he'll be calling in any minute now. Just a lot going on in the land of the free and the home of the brave. From sports, we had such a great day here in Northern California, and I'm telling you, all around the country, there's so many people that they're just excited about having the right to vote, having the right to follow their favorite sports teams. It doesn't matter who you vote for, as long as you vote for what you want. And there are always people who can help you get what you want. So no one's telling you what candidate to vote for or even what party to vote for. Just make sure you get out and exercise that constitutional right. I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I just want to take the time to say that today was just a great day. Obviously, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, when you look at what happened around politics, I'm surprised, maybe not surprised, that POTUS decided to fire Jeff Sessions. He actually had him turn in his resignation, but we know that he fired him. That's why he turned it in. So Jeff Sessions is out, and a lot of good old boys that follow POTUS, they'll be next, as he's also blaming Paul Ryan for the Democrats taking the House. But the Republicans held on to the Senate. In fact, they even increased it a little bit. But there's so much going on in the world of sports and politics. I think we have Big C chiming in. I think he just finished voting. You were held out. I think, Big C, your vote was obstructed so much that you just now got off that vote and able to call into the Big C Sports Show. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I've been obstructed. I've been ripped off. I've been a little bit of everything. You know, I looked around at your friend that they call the mothership.
Yep.
And I forgot to do one thing, Charlton.
What's that?
I forgot to go get a patent on the moonshine.
Yep.
On the advertising.
Oh, really?
The mothership is talking about using moonshine in tailgates now.
Really?
You know, at college games. And I'm like, wait a minute. All these years you've been on television,
yes,
you've never said anything about moonshine. Now all of a sudden you heard about Big C's moonshine.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about using it at college tailgates. Not at professional games,
yes,
but at college tailgates.
Wow.
So they're looking at distributing to some minors, I guess.
Oh, that's wrong. We always talk about it's an adult beverage, Big C, an adult libation. I tell you, they say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's kind of a moniker I've heard from a lot of good old boys in the sports world. In fact, in the sports universe, I love so much about what we do. And I know we'll talk about some scores, and we'll talk about some real-life politicians. I'm telling you, Big C Sports is the only sports show in the universe that cares more about the right to vote than we do about, is LeBron James going to score 30, Big C? Is Steph Curry going to lead the league in three-point baskets again? Will the Dallas Cowboys finally win a game down at Jerry Jones? All that stuff's fine. But if you don't exercise your right, this is a right that's, voting is a right. It's not a privilege. You have to earn the right to vote. You have to qualify to right to vote. You can't have felonies to vote. You got to go to the ballot box to vote, or you mail it in. But Big C, before I get your thoughts, because I know you're down south, you're in the eye of the storm. You're in the eye of that blue tidal wave that swept through this country last night for the House of Representatives, for grandparents. I think about Elijah Cummings. I think about all of the wonderful people who have been out there and had their parents or their own votes obstructed. Representative John Lewis, he should be the face of the vote because he carries the scars from the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Big C. I'm sure he wants to know who's going to win the game, but he's a lot deeper than that. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about voter obstruction, it's a lot deeper and even more simpler than what people want to think about. When you think about the long lines at voting stations, why? You're going to tell me that you can't open up a couple extra schools in various districts, Charlton, to set up polling stations?
Yep.
All you got to do is follow the model of the state of Oregon.
Yeah.
Where in Portland, Charlton, all ballots are mail-in ballots.
Yep.
All ballots are. They don't have polling stations where people have to have long lines. All you got to do is fill out the form. They send everyone a ballot to their home. If you have an address, you get a ballot. Even if it's a P.O. box, you get a ballot. They know how to do it right. But when you think about the long lines at the voting polls, Charlton, that's for disparaging.
Yeah.
That is obstructing people. Look, I don't want to wait in line 4 or 5 hours. And when people think about that, many people get frustrated. Many people don't even show up.
Yeah.
You think about the number of power outages that occurred yesterday in the South, in the red states, Charlton. Power outages that were people that were waiting in line, all of a sudden the power goes out.
Wow.
Think about that. There was no bad weather, but the power was going out. So that held up people a couple hours.
Wow.
Then you run out of ballots. You go, okay, we don't have enough ballots.
Really?
So you can't vote. I mean, but when you look at the list of obstruction scenarios that occurred yesterday, Charlton, in this national election, it's atrocious.
Yeah.
And you think about American citizens going that beneath themselves, Charlton, to stop other American citizens from voting.
Yeah.
What is the problem with voting? Why is it so heinous and troublesome to one party, Charlton?
Yeah.
And that's the Republican Party. Why do they do so much to stop other Americans from voting? I mean, it's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
If you can sit there and talk about your Second Amendment right and fight about that so profusely, why can't you say, well, everyone should have the right to vote? You see, everyone has the right to have a firearm.
Yeah.
A pencil is a firearm.
Yeah.
An ink pen is a firearm because you're firing out at your rights, Charlton.
Yep.
But you're not harming anybody physically. You're not costing anybody their life. But they think about that pencil and that pen, Charlton, being more damning to Americans than they do someone having an AR-15 rifle.
Yeah, I'm really proud, though, that a lot of people were really jazzed up about voting. No matter who you voted for, Democrat or Republican, we're all American. At the end of the day, we're one big happy family, Big C. I think that's what they said down south, one big happy family.
Well, that's not what Trump said today in the White House.
Oh, really?
In his press conference. He got belligerent with the media today, Charlton. Said they were rude. He said they were racist.
Yeah.
You know,
they grabbed him by the crotch.
I mean, he was telling people to sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
In the media.
Yeah.
Talking about he was smarter than everybody there, and he was more intelligent, and he could fire everybody. He just went off today.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in rare form, but he did fire Sessions.
Yep.
He had no problem doing that since they lost the House.
Yeah.
And so the only way that he could, stop this investigation was to fire Sessions because he no longer had control of the House.
Yeah.
Where he had Devin Nunes backing him up, so he got rid of Sessions.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't waste any time, Charlton.
No.
And so, this is just another air of obstruction.
Yeah.
But he doesn't understand. He can obstruct Mueller, but he can't obstruct the House now.
Ain't that the truth, Big C? The Democrats picked up 29 seats in the House, total of 223. They only needed 218 to control. The Republicans picked up 2 seats in the Senate, and they hold 51 to 46 seats to the Democrats. I think the thing that are a lot of people that understand that life is more than just sports. And when I talk to certain people, I love talking to intelligent people. Had some great meetings here in Northern California today, and just some thoughts from some intelligent people who follow more than just sports. Last night, voters were going out to vote, representing their own opinions on matters that value their daily lives. And the score in that game was important. It wasn't about who won the game. It was about who won the right to vote. And in case you think about who won the game, it's everybody who's conscious, Big C. And we talked about how there were games being played last night from athletes, primarily African-American. They kind of make up the racial profile of those mostly being obstructed for the vote. And they were out playing the basketball games. Maybe they mailed in their ballots, Big C, but we know they were not at the polling stations. They were on the hardwood. So seeing what happened last night, voters went out. They had to extend hours at the voting booth. And that's why Big C was late calling in to Big C Sports Show. What do they do when you got your boat? Did you have to get your boat on dry land, or do you walk 5 miles, Big C, like Denzel Washington from that movie back in the day, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I was trying to figure out what they were doing in Texas. That's what had me so bewildered. You think about on the ballot in Texas, Charlton.
Yeah. If
you voted Democrat across the board, it would say that you voted for Ted Cruz, who was a Republican.
Really?
They rigged the ballot. The voting ballots in Texas, so that if you voted Democrat across the board,
right,
that Ted Cruz got a vote out of it. And so when you think about all the shenanigans that occur, I mean, we see bad calls from officials in sporting events, Charlton, where they go to the replay and still can't get it right.
Yeah.
but in this scenario, as a voter, you don't know this thing is occurring, Charlton, that you vote Democratic across the board and all of a sudden Ted Cruz pops up. and so you're going to tell me that's not a glitch, Charlton.
No.
That's an intentional act by someone dealing with software, hacking the software to make that happen.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that you bring those things up. I wasn't aware that. I've been in interviews all day. I also want to thank on the Big C Sports Show Patrick Willis, 7-time All-Pro linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, sitting down with him and talking about what he's doing in life outside of sports. Also, Adrian Ross, who's a sports agent, played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's a sports agent, signs a lot of athletes in the world of sports, and they love sitting down with Big C Sports. You know what I heard those two men say, Big C? They said, you guys are different. And that's an honor to hear that from guys who are in that same business that you've been in for so many years. And I just want to make sure that we stay real and bring a good perspective. I got to get your thoughts on something, though. And one more thing before we touch on a few more things that are happening in the sports universe, Big C. When you think about what it meant last night to grandparents, see, a lot of grandparents now and parents are elderly. They can't walk around like they used to when they were younger. They can't get in the car and drive like they used to when they were younger. But they mailed in their ballot, Big C. That means they took advantage of their right to vote. They took advantage of that right to vote. And I just couldn't imagine that anyone listening to the Big C Sports Show, if you have a parent or a grandparent that was obstructed from voting while you're too busy watching the game, what would you think? How would you feel, Big C? I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Charlton, the thing that I heard on the news today that there were record turnouts in voting. When I compare this to our neighbors up north in Canada, Charlton, 93% of that country votes every time they have an election.
Wow.
Their last prime minister election, 93% of the country voted. America thinks we've had a great turnout when we get 55 to 60% of Americans turning out and voting.
Yeah.
But you think about it, we get all of those people complaining that don't show up.
Yeah.
They complain about how downtrodden they are, how they've been beat down by politics, how their voice doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter because you don't choose to go to the poll.
Yep.
You're too damn lazy to even fill out a write-in ballot.
Yeah.
Think about that. You can sit there and flick a remote control all day long, but you can't pick up a provisionary ballot and fill it out.
Yeah.
All you got to do is fill it out. Make that long walk to the mailbox.
Yeah.
Put it in, raise up the flag.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. I mean, that's a very difficult task.
Yeah.
But you can't get away from your soap operas. You can't get away from your talk shows.
Yep.
You can't get away from your reality shows.
Yeah.
Reality in life, Charlton, is that vote affects everybody.
Yeah.
That non-vote affects even more people, Charlton.
Yep.
When you don't vote. When you look at the closeness of races, and you see some of these states where, there's 100,000 votes separating the winner from the loser.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that state had 1 million people that didn't vote, but 100,000 separated victory from loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem we have in America. I love the opportunity to vote.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity that grandparents were given and parents were given.
Amen.
To vote, Charlton, after those long struggles.
Yep.
But, I'm so disparaged by those people who have an opportunity to make a difference
and don't do
choose not to make a difference.
Yeah.
And complain. It's just like a fan in the stadium hackling a referee or a player.
Yeah.
You're hackling a player on an opposing team using all type of epithets towards this individual.
Yeah.
Who has worked hard to achieve the level of success that they have.
Yep.
You're sitting there because you can afford a beer and think it gives you the right to hack them.
Right. Right.
And it doesn't. It's just like voting. You have the right to vote, but you choose not to.
Yeah.
It's just like you have the right to sit in the stands at a sporting event and have civility about yourself. I mean, it's good to cheer against the opponent.
Yeah.
But the epithets that you throw at them is not part of the ticket that you purchased.
That's true. That's very true, Big C. And I know everybody, I think Richard Pryor had a skit back in the day, and he was doing something about Jim Brown, but somebody was going to fight someone, and he said, gentlemen, I think if you let the man go, he could express himself a little better. So oftentimes, you want to pick on an athlete, wait till he leaves the stadium and then go talk to him man-to-man. But obviously, I just want to say I'm so proud of this country. I want to get your thoughts on what does POTUS think of Maxine Waters now? Does he still think he can disparage her now that she has power? And also, just Nancy Pelosi being back as the Speaker of the House again, and Mitch McConnell, is he still alive? Because he stood up there like he wasn't blinking. He has flawless skin, but it doesn't look that healthy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what Botox will do for you, Charlton. When you're 75 years old, it will just make everything droop, and that's where he is. I mean, his mouth, I think, is mechanically operated when he's talking. But it's going to be hard pressed for the president to call Maxine Waters now low life and low IQ.
Yeah.
Because she's in charge of the finance committee.
Yeah.
So she can look into all those disparaging finances that his cabinet has had.
You think they will?
The fleecing of the funds that they have done to America, Charlton.
Yeah.
So matter of fact, his tone today was really soft.
Yeah.
It was almost like a mouse pissing on cotton. I mean, he had changed a lot.
Yeah.
But he's still hard on this invasion of the U.S.
Yep.
That we're being invaded. The last time the U.S. dealt with an invasion, I think it was about us going into Iraq.
Yep. Yeah.
And, the Russians going into Crimea.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't understand what an invasion is, Charles.
Yep.
He's thinking that, 1,500 people trying to cross the border is an invasion, and they have no weapons.
Yeah.
But what I love is that he's saying is like, well, there's the Taliban in there.
Right.
All these criminals. So he said he has a pretty good eye for what he's seeing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you sitting there, you can pick out who's who in this crowd.
Yep.
So which one of those kids in the strollers from the Taliban, which one of those ladies is a rapist? That's what I want to understand.
Well, I just think I'm so proud of women. Had a nice showing last night. We're part of the, the Me Too movement came out strong, and a lot of women who just got tired of the divisiveness in our country. No matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, people know when they're doing wrong. They know when they're being xenophobic. They know when they're being sexist. They know when they're being racist. To pretend that you don't know, that means that you're ignorant, and we don't want ignorance running this country. I do want to just say congratulations to the men in college basketball at Duke. I have so much respect for Coach Krzyzewski, but as a learned man, a man who's erudite, I hope that we can put together this cause where on the nights to vote, don't play sports. There's so many young men who are told when they're recruited, we're going to take care of your boy. We're going to take care of your daughter. We're going to treat them like they're our own. Well, if they're your own, have them exercising their right to vote, not running up and down the Hardwick Court for free. Big C Duke, the number 4 team in basketball, they blew out Kentucky, the number 2 team in college basketball, by 40 points last night. And Duke looks very good. It's early in the season, though. You can't really draw comparisons from it. But give me your thoughts on the guys that were running up and down the hardwood as opposed to voting last night. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Duke may have the most talented freshman team in college football history. I mean, these guys were as advertised.
Yeah.
You talk about dominant athletes, Charlton. These young men, they have to do the one and done before going to the NBA.
Yeah.
But they have 3 players on this roster, Charlton, that are freshmen. There will be 3 of the top 5 players drafted in the NBA next year.
Wow.
That's how talented they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't get that talented because of Krzyzewski. They were that way when they showed up.
Yep, that's why they got him.
He's just riding the coattail. He's getting paid out of it.
Yep.
But to go out and dominate your buddy Calipari and beat him by 44 points last night, Charlton.
Yeah.
It looked like that Kentucky was a club team, one of those on-campus teams that you have.
Yep.
But, that just shows you how much these athletes are elevating each year in their talent.
Yeah.
Is that they're getting better and better each year. I mean, these are poster kids that, kids are going to be looking up at on their walls when they put those little posters on the wall of these athletes. And you think about in the other game that was played last night, Charlton, the University of Kansas, who was number 1 in the country, played Michigan State, who I believe was number 7.
Yeah.
And they dominated them. I keep wondering how does Kansas always keep getting these players?
Dorothy Wizard of Oz.
let me put it that. I'm not wondering. I know how Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean, Will stated that years ago.
Yeah.
Why he went to Kansas. You know, the financial benefits were much greater.
Yeah.
And you think about this shoe scandal with Adidas, Charlton, that just had 3 men convicted in New York over siphoning money to college basketball players. You know, Aton was one of them last year from Arizona. You know, Kansas has a kid that's been suspended this year because they said that he received illegal benefits from the shoe company. Now, the kid is suspended, but Bill Self is still coaching.
Sure is.
And that's amazing, is that you suspend kids that don't get paid.
Yep.
And the coaches keep getting to play. I mean, keep getting to coach.
Yeah. And
the players have to sit on the sideline. And you think about all 4 of those teams last night, Charlton, have been mired in scandal.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's shoe scandal or sexual assault scandal at Michigan State. You know, we've had the shoe scandal at Kansas.
Yeah.
We've had it at, you know, your boy is the first one this year. This is the first year he hasn't been in the middle of a scandal.
Why are you making it seem like I know the dude, Big Z?
You know, but you know, all 4 of these coaches, Charlton, have been mired in financial scandals.
Yeah.
And grade scandals. But none of these coaches have had to miss games, Charlton.
Not a one.
They haven't been suspended.
Nope.
But the black athletes keep getting suspended. Why is that? You know, why do these white coaches have autonomy and the black players can be cast aside to, well, we'll just plug another one in. But we can't plug another coach in, and we won't judge him because he's a grown man.
Yeah.
He knows better. The athlete doesn't know any better because he's a kid and he's broke.
Yep. And you know, Big C, a lot of people don't speak. They have no one to advocate for them because you know, a lot of people, they're told if you speak up, you're going to lose your scholarship. If you speak up, you're going to lose your job. If you become who you really are, like who are we? Do people really know who they are? We all have a right to speak your mind. Don't think everybody has to like you. Most people would never like you, no matter how much you kiss in the butt, Big C. We've seen people come. I mean, I've seen people try to get into your restaurant.
I ran out of chapstick a long time ago.
You have people trying to get into your restaurants, and they go, "Man, I saw you when you played, and you know you're my favorite player, and I love you, man." And you're like, you still got to pay the cover charge, okay? So, speaking of the cover charge, New Orleans Saints. You know, again, there's something about New Orleans. You want to pull for them. They've been through Hurricane Katrina. They have all that deep fried food and high blood pressure down south, Big C. They need something to take their mind off it other than medication. The Saints on a 7-game win streak. They signed Dez Bryant, who was cut by Jerry Jones. I think they only have him for half of the season, and it might be a good thing because he has that motivation now when he realized he was holding out for an illusion. The illusion was that he was better than he thought he was. And someone said, no, you're not worth that much money. But now they get him for only half the season, which is a good thing. And I think he could be a situational player that can actually catch the short pass. He's not going to be good for downfield, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think that he will help this organization immensely. You know, you think about how dominant Michael Thomas has been at receiver. Dez knows that he's coming into this organization, Charlton, and he's a second or third tier option in this offense. But what's even more important for Dez is that they play the Cowboys on November 29th.
Wow.
That's what motivated him. And you know, when New Orleans made him the offer, that, you know, he jumped at it. And I think the offer came on Sunday. You remember when Michael Thomas had that flip phone?
Yep.
You know, and pulled from under the goalpost.
He was calling Dez.
And made that phone call. I think he was calling Dez Bryant at that point. Saying, Dez, you know, we need the money. You know, and Dez, I'm coming. You know,
that's funny.
And he showed up.
Yeah.
So you look at Dez playing with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
He has a quarterback that can throw him open.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, he hasn't had that before. You know, Romo may have thrown him open a few times, but Romo is not Drew Brees.
Yeah.
So you got a quarterback that can throw you open all the time. All you got to do is work to a spot.
Yeah.
The ball will be there. You know, you don't have to wait on the ball to be thrown to try to get open.
Yeah.
You just got to turn around and catch it.
I think that's,
you go on to New Orleans, you got in the backfield, you got Kamara.
Yep.
And you got the Heisman Trophy 22.
Yeah.
That's what CTE does for you, Charlton.
It's all right. It's a shine, Big C. You guys celebrated big last night, okay? I understand it. but
you got Ingram in the backfield. So you got 3 to 4 options before you even get to Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
So Dez has been humbled for a long time because he got cut back in April by the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So I don't have a calculator to figure out how many months that is.
Well, Dez thought he was like the white quarterbacks. Like Eli said, I'll quit when I want to quit. Big C. I gotta get your thoughts on what you said about going out and playing for Brees. You know, leadership is about a perception, and exceptional leaders have exceptional perspectives. Relationships determine the degree of success you'll have as a leader, and exceptional leaders create exceptional relationships. I think Drew Brees is an exceptional person. I think he has an exceptional personality. He's a person that can meander in with all of his teammates, black and white. There's no issues with him. His behavior, his teammates actually respect him. They're not kissing his butt because he's a quarterback. I think where he was ostracized in Dallas and Dez Bryant, I think he'll see the leadership qualities of Brees and how Brees is a quiet leader. He's not a guy that's out there like Aaron Rodgers blaming somebody when they drop a pass or he throws a pick. He's different, Big C. And I think that's going to benefit Dez Bryant. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you play with a quarterback who is a professional gentleman of leisure, who works very hard at his craft.
Yep.
We saw that in New England earlier this year when they brought in Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who's been troubled in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a franchise quarterback, a quarterback that stabilized the offense.
Yeah.
So all the things in his personal life took over what he could do athletically.
Yeah.
He's become an all-pro receiver in New England. When you look at what he does week in and week out, he gets better in that system.
Yep.
Because he can't freelance.
Yeah.
He has to go out and play what the system calls for him to play, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's been successful. You're going to get that same thing out of Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant is not going to be in New Orleans talking about, just get me the damn ball. That ain't happening.
No, not anymore.
He's going to say, Drew, what do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
That's what he's going to say. Drew, what do you want me to do?
Yep, I think that's important.
That's going to be Dez Bryant. You're not going to see a guy who is ranting, talking about I was open.
Yeah.
Because every receiver is open on every
Always
play.
open.
if you look at the snap,
yeah,
every receiver is open at that point.
Yeah.
It's a matter he runs into coverage. Can he get out of coverage?
You
so
know,
I think by being in a stable organization with Sean Payton, who's a coach who's been around a long time, who's been through it all.
Yep.
And Charlton, the biggest motivator is he knows he's going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Every year in Dallas, he was struggling to get to the playoffs. He's going to a team that's 8-1, Charlton. He knows already that he's in the playoffs.
He's already in the playoffs.
So if that doesn't motivate a player, Charlton, I don't know what will.
Well, speaking of teams that are making moves to try to keep up down south, you know, we think about the Atlanta Falcons. They've been coming on strong lately. You got to give them credit for that. The Falcons signed defensive end Bruce Irvin to a one-year deal after he'd just been released by, of all teams, the Raiders, because they don't need guys on defense. Doesn't make any sense. So he goes from the Raiders, who are going nowhere but down, and then he goes to the Falcons, and maybe he can be the kind of the wind beneath their wings, that wing of that bird on the outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Big C. Do you think he's an additive? I think he could be a situational benefit to the Falcons, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you think about the Raiders. This is a professional football team that doesn't have 10 sacks, and you cut one of the players who had 2.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, John Gruden is a genius. I mean,
what a bargain!
How people want to malign this guy.
Yeah.
He is a genius.
Yep.
He said you got to teach people how to pass rush. Our best 2 pass rushers this season,
yeah.
I got rid of.
Yep.
Because I'm going to go out and teach some guys how to rush the pass in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Irvin will really benefit the Falcons. You know, players always have this thing for wanting to go home. Bruce Irvin grew up in the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
So he's technically going home, Charlton.
Yep.
Not only that, he played under the coach while he was in Seattle for 2 years.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, Dan Quinn knows Bruce Irvin.
Yeah.
He taught him how to rush the passer, Charlton, when he was the defensive coordinator in Seattle.
Yeah.
So, you know, coming here to Atlanta, working with Dan Quinn, I think it will help both of those
definitely.
guys out.
It's going to help.
Atlanta's always needed help because they've had multiple injuries on defense.
Yep.
I think they'll work him into that rotation that they have, Charlton. And by playing indoors, on the turf, not outside that slick grass in Oakland. It will help his game out, Charlton, and he'll pick up a few sacks for the Falcons.
Well, obviously, I don't know if it's true or not, but I listen to teenage boys sometime in the AAU. They were saying, you know how kids spread a rumor and people, you know, the rumor travels by 10 people before the lie catches up. Some people were saying, well, the Raiders actually fired Gruden, and if Kerr doesn't want to coach Golden State, maybe Gruden can coach the Warriors. He hadn't coached anything in 10 years, and he said, one guy said, no, because he'll trade Steph Curry, he'll trade Kevin Durant, he'll trade Draymond Green, and he'll want to get the draft pick. See, that's what he's doing with the Raiders. Speaking of drafting guys, Sam Darnold. What would Gruden have done with Sam Darnold? A pick out of USC, number 1 pick out of USC. Everyone had him up there tapped for the Heisman Trophy, and Darnold likely will not play this weekend versus the Bills because he went to that same doctor that Peyton Manning went to when he broke his neck. He put a cast on his foot, Big C. I guess he has a foot problem. Is it athlete's foot or just a foot problem, Big C? Your thoughts?
I think right now he has an arm problem, Charlton. The arm is redirecting the ball to the opponent on a regular basis.
Yep.
And you know, you look at Peyton Manning in his last year in Denver, Charlton. He was very susceptible to the interceptions.
Yeah.
Couldn't push the ball down the field. We've seen that same thing with Sam Darnold here in his rookie year, Charlton, by leading the NFL in interceptions. Everybody had him in the Hall of Fame after game 1 against the Detroit Lions, I believe they played.
Yep, Detroit.
But all of a sudden, it's the Hall of Shame now.
Yeah.
They're putting him in.
Yeah.
But they say he has a foot injury. He's going to be in a walking boot, Charlton. You know, just 2 weeks ago, they were talking about, well, they don't have anybody to replace him with.
Yeah.
You and I talked about, you know, he could cost Todd Bowles his job.
Yep.
Is that, you know, they needed to find a way to put McCown in the lineup. I guess the Jets listen to Big C's show also.
Yeah, they always follow Big C. I tell you, though, and I want Darnold to do well. Ironically, they took him out against Buffalo because if you can't beat Buffalo, then they're going to say, maybe we should have had this guy stay in college one more season. And we all thought he would have learned from the experience. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They work with Big C Sports. They've been around half a century. If you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. And I just want to get one thought again, because we talk about the greatness of players. And I got to go back to one more thing, too, in the voter thing. We tell people get out and vote. And I still look at the fact that Kaepernick, you know, maybe he doesn't want to play. I doubt that. Who doesn't want to take a contract? If they gave him Garoppolo-type money for not playing at all, if they gave him the same money for having success and took the Niners to the last Super Bowl, as they given Jimmy G for not even wanting to negotiate his contract or renegotiate it, I'm sure there's enough money to have him play. But they were saying, let's give him minimum wage with all of his accolades. It doesn't make any sense back then. But you look at the Giants. You look at the 49ers. And they're playing a Monday night game. It's a must-see game. It's a must-see because you're going to see what people are paying to see mediocrity when it comes to Manning. Now, he's been a great quarterback over the years, but he's past his time. And then you have Nick Mullins. If he outplays Eli Manning, loving people, having an affinity for someone aside, if you're a Giants fan, do you keep supporting an organization that's thrown in the white towel, Big C? Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't even know if you can say throwing in the white towel, Charlton, is that you refuse to compete.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the offensive weapons that the Giants possess, Charlton, at the skill position, at the running back, receiver, and tight end, they don't take a second tier to anybody. I mean, their group is just as good as what you have in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Just as good as what you have in Pittsburgh, Charlton, in the receiving core and running back.
Yeah.
And even better than probably what they have in New Orleans is just Drew Brees is an X factor.
Yeah.
When you look at what they have, but they don't have the delivery system. You know, it's like having a beautiful sports car and you got a Volkswagen engine in it.
Yep.
You got a Ferrari and you put a Volkswagen engine in it, and it looks good sitting there.
Yeah.
But once you start it up, it doesn't move too well.
Yep.
And that's the Giants' offense.
Yeah.
You start up their quarterback, he doesn't move too well.
Yep.
But, you know, at some point, the Mayer family and everybody else in the media has to stop blaming Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Saying that he has an attitude problem. You know, he's getting paid all this money for productivity, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get an opportunity to earn all of the money that he can make based on incentives.
Yeah.
He's going to make his base.
Yeah.
But his incentives he can't make, Charlton. And people are covering for Eli Manning. You can't keep covering for it.
No.
It's like when you know somebody is lying and you don't call them out.
Yep.
And that's the scenario you have with Eli Manning. I mean, he does not pass the litmus test.
No.
Everybody can see. I mean, you can go to replay. If you have a doubt within what you see in live time,
stealing money.
Go back to replay.
Yeah.
And challenge the replay.
Yep.
Eli Manning, Charlton, if they lose this game, Charlton, to the 49ers, I mean, the Raiders just lost to them.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr looked pathetic.
Yep.
And if they come around and do the same thing to the New York Giants, Charlton, you can't justify playing Eli Manning anymore this season.
No, I agree 100%. Leadership is about, for an exceptional leader, and we know the NFL builds up the prodigal quarterbacks to be an exceptional leader. You must be in now. The timing and the awareness, all that preparation, you got to be locked in. Eli's just not locked in anymore. And I've got to say that even with Eli struggling, Kaepernick never looked this bad when he was playing for a bad team also, but they got rid of him. So for people who say, well, why are people being tough to Eli? Sometimes you got to realize you got to earn your spot, Lee.
Think about this. Yeah. You just brought up Kaepernick.
Yeah.
The last year he was with the 49ers. I believe he started 9 games.
16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, yeah.
And he had 18 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Eli Manning has started 9 games this year with the Giants, okay?
Yep.
He has 8 touchdown passes.
Wow.
And about 12 interceptions.
Yeah.
And nobody's saying, well, he's falling off shelf. He doesn't look like he want to play. Colin Kaepernick competed.
Yep.
He competed. Think about it. If Colin Kaepernick had to have the offensive tools at any time in his pro career that Eli Manning has right now, think about how productive he would be. As much as people want to malign that young man because he took a social stance for social injustice in America, we saw social injustice
in the vote
last night in voting, Charlton.
Yep.
That was social injustice that was occurring last night with voter obstruction.
Yep.
So when you want to say that Kaepernick was un-American, obstruction is un-American.
It sure is. It sure
is.
And
Eli Manning is obstructing the New York Giants offense right now.
Yep, and I agree with you, Big C. I just love intelligent men, and I just got to take another footnote talking to Patrick Willis and today and just sitting down with him and going over some things with the Big C Sports and also Adrian Ross. They're intelligent men. They're not sycophants. And we were talking about the contrast between Big C Sports and the mothership. And you guys on the mothership, you know who you are. The fact of the matter is, there's sometimes when you got to stand up to oppression. When someone says, shut up, sit down, don't you dare say anything that would keep your family or your kids safe. We have to have intelligent dialogue. You can't be afraid to say something because you have the mainstream might say, hey, you're going to lose your job. Talk to mainstream. If they know you're intelligent and you're not a sycophant person, maybe they will say, you know what, you're right. Maybe we can have a platform that talks about encouraging young people to vote. We say we love this country. If you love this country, make sure you vote. Big C, I want to touch on something when you talk about love. Who was saying it? What's love got to do? Was that Tina Turner saying that song? Well, Bryce Harper in Major League Baseball, how do you turn down a 10-year, $300 million contract? I gotta say that again. It's not. He didn't turn down a 10-year, $300,000. It was a 10-year, $300 million, and he's not that great of a player now. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm trying to understand. When you haven't been to the World Series,
nope.
Okay, you only made the playoffs, I believe, once.
Yep.
In your career.
Yep.
You haven't, dominated the game, and you want to be the highest paid player in the game. I guess the market pays whatever the demands are, regardless of what the sport is, Charlton.
Yeah.
Somebody is always setting the table, putting the chart even higher.
But earn it at least. Earn it.
But what we've learned from players who get these exorbitant contracts is that they go downward after because they no longer have anything to strive for, Charlton. They got lifetime security.
Yeah.
So that their numbers tend to fall off the table.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers this year. Well, people say, well, he's got the knee injury. He's still not winning.
Nope.
He's that last minute drive, it doesn't make a difference. If he's the highest paid quarterback in the game, a last minute drive should never come to fruition.
Nope.
That 2 minutes should mean nothing in the game.
Yeah.
It should be his opponent trying to get that 2 minutes. Okay, not him.
Yep.
And when we look at baseball, baseball is a game where you can take individuals out of the game.
Yep.
Ask Barry Bonds how many times he was walked. And he was never the highest paid player in baseball.
No.
He used steroids. Same thing's been assumed about Bryce Harper at times, okay?
Yep.
So, and many other players.
Yep.
And so you can always point the finger at one, but there's three other fingers going towards you and other people when you do that.
Yep.
But to turn down $300 million, Charlton, the arrogance of that in professional sports.
Yeah.
This is a game that kids play for free.
Yep.
That parents sit out there and struggle watching their kids cheering them on from T-ball on.
Yeah.
So they're sitting there and the kids he's sitting there trying to play with a bug in the dirt. The ball's rolling past.
Yeah.
And parents are sitting there. That's my boy.
That's my boy.
They move from T-ball to Little League, and go to Babe Ruth, get to high school, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you think about, here it is, you're telling somebody that $30 million a year is not enough.
Right.
You can't make it on that.
Right.
That you need a little more security. But you got to look at the fans. When we look at Major League Baseball, we don't see all these stadiums overflowing in Major League Baseball.
No.
There's 3 or 4 stadiums that are always semi-full in Major League Baseball. You got Chicago with the Cubs.
Yep.
You got Boston with the Red Sox, Charlton. Houston is decent. The Yankees are decent.
Yeah.
After that, you start falling off the table, Charlton, as far as attendance in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to go down to Tampa and look at the game, Charlton, because you or even with the White Sox.
Yeah.
You wanted 1,200 people, and we saw where the Orioles had fallen to last year. They had to get rid of the Machado and send him to L.A. because they couldn't afford him anymore.
Yeah.
But $300 million, I mean, from a fan's perspective, I'm a former player, but from a fan's perspective, this is ridiculous where the money is getting to in professional sports.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many games on television that I guess that's where the revenue is coming from, but it's not coming from the butts in the seats.
And and when you think about Harper, right around the All-Star break, he was batting less than 200. Batting less than 200. And we just finished watching the World Series. Congratulations again, Boston Red Sox. I saw guys hitting the ball that can hit the ball a lot better than Harper that are not even making $10 million a year, Big C. For this guy to say, well, I'm going to turn down $300 million, the arrogance of some of the athletes and the stupidity of the owner that was signing that check. What a knucklehead. Give some of that money to some pitching or some other players, Big C.
If they treated him like Dez Bryant, you spend half the seasons out there on the free agent market. Those Miss Meal cramps will come back in a hurry. After you had a couple slices of humble pie, you'll gladly take what they offer.
Well, even with the money he's making now, he's not missing 80 meals unless he's really blind, Big C. It doesn't make any sense. But also, all fair and love and war. If they give him the money, give him the money. But I think when you measure players, and I know we have different eras. I saw Barry Bonds play. I saw Reggie Jackson play. I saw Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco. Seeing some of the greatest players in Northern California. I saw Rod Carew play back in the day. All them guys from the West Coast. Even seeing Pete Rose play, he could always get on base, Big C. I'm just not, Ken Griffey Jr., watching him play, there still was nobody better than Barry Bonds. And as great as Barry Bonds was, he was not, he doesn't matter right now to the young players. A lot of them don't even know who he is because they're into their hand phones and their cell phones. But when you look at a guy that was the most difficult out in baseball, that was Barry. Bryce Harper, he's nowhere near where Barry Bonds was, or even Mark McGwire. That's why it's asinine for him to say, I'm too good for $300 million. When I look at the NBA, Big C, the Pelicans, they've lost 6 straight games after leading the league in scoring the first week of the season, averaging over 132 points. They faced the Sixers tonight with Embiid averaging 28.5 and 13 rebounds per game. I think the problem with New Orleans, Davis is going to be out of there, we know that, but this is a year to shine. But at the same time, when players know, there's something about chemistry. When you have teammates, if you don't have that chemistry, they're not going to sell out for you. They know you're looking to move. It's like taking that girl to the prom and you told her you're going to be leaving her next week for some new girl coming to town. I think that's what's going on with New Orleans, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team, you got to know how to win. It's not about learning how to win.
Yeah.
You got to know how to win. And when you look at the Pelicans, they started off hot. 130-plus points a game, Charlton.
Yeah.
But to be able to sustain that means you have to be ready to share the rock.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get some assists. This is a team, Charlton, because it's young. They made the playoffs last year, but it's still not the same team that made the playoffs last year and had that run. If you look when they got to the Warriors,
yep,
all of a sudden they hit a wall in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden a team that knows how to win put them away in a hurry.
Yep.
And they came out this year, guns a-blazing, Charlton. But I think they read their press clippings that they're going to be the best team in the West.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got 6-game slide, Charlton, and now you're trying to figure out where's the structure of your team.
Yeah, that's true. But I also feel that when you know somebody's leaving, you're not emotionally connected to doing what it takes to help the team. People start looking for their own parachute. And with everybody know all the major moves are coming up. LeBron James went to L.A., and I don't know if it's a good move so far. I know he didn't go for basketball. He went for other things, business opportunities, just like the guys talked about today. They're more than just an athlete. They're actually business entities. And when you're smart, you do it now. You take advantage of the opportunities now. And I think that's what a lot of guys are doing, especially with the money that they're throwing at them. I want to swing the puck a little bit to the Washington Capitals, Big C. They won the Stanley Cup, and the Nationals missed the playoffs, okay? I think about the Wizards are only 2-8 after going, I think they lost by 19 points. It's hard to lose by 19 points in the NBA. You almost have to lose by, 5 points every period, Big C. It doesn't make sense. They were a team that was considered maybe they could knock off Toronto last year. Why are they struggling so much? Your thoughts?
Charlton, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks last night. And rookie Luka Doncic, they just went in and took it to him.
Yeah.
Here's a team that John Wall hasn't developed after being the number 1 overall pick in the NBA 6 years ago, Charles. He is struggling. He's a player that's holding down his franchise. But they can't get rid of him because of the salary that he has, Charlton.
Yeah.
Nobody can absorb that with the salary cap in the NBA.
Yep.
And still, who would he make better? If he hasn't made this team better, I think about last season when he was out for 20 or 30 games, Charlton.
Yeah.
And how Washington went on a run without him. How they had a team that played together. They didn't have to look for John Wall.
Yeah.
And ever since John Wall has come back, Charlton, from that injury last year, they've been a different team.
Yeah.
2 years ago, they had an opportunity to knock off the Boston Celtics, Charlton, in the East.
Yep.
They went to a Game 7. They won a miraculous Game 6 on a three-point shot. Charlton went to Boston in Game 7 and got blown out.
Yeah.
They came back last year. Wall had an injury. They were in the hunt, Charlton, for a good seed in the East. Wall came back. The team struggled, Charlton. They got eliminated early in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now they're off to this sluggish start this season, Charlton. They'll be looking at getting rid of Scotty Brooks first to coach.
You think so?
Instead of getting rid of Wall. Oh, yeah, they'll get rid of Scotty Brooks. He's got to be the problem. They're saying that Walton is the problem in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And everybody said, well, if you're playing the Lakers, who do you stop?
Yeah.
You stop LeBron.
Yep.
Because nobody else in that organization, yes, Rondo's been on a championship team. Stevens been in the playoffs. But you got everybody else on that team, Charlton.
Yeah.
McGee is not going to be a leader on the team. He's just a big guy in the middle. He's won championships.
Yep.
But as far as the star of that offense, Charlton, and if you take all those young guys, they don't have a young guy on that team, Charlton, that's ever had a winning season in the NBA.
Wow.
So they don't know how to compete at the top level. They know how to cash a paycheck, but they don't know how to win consistently in the NBA. So when people look at the Lakers and wonder what the struggle is, they say, okay, LeBron can come in and fix this.
Yeah.
He can come in and teach these young guys who've never won on the NBA level how to be winners overnight. No, because their lives and their pattern had already been established in the NBA when LeBron had arrived, Charlton.
That's a very good point, Big C. We had last night, you had the Portland Trailblazers knocking off the Milwaukee Bucks. But I want to go back to the thing you said about LeBron James. He's an exceptional leader, and leaders pave the way. They make things happen. They inspire. They create the example like Kobe used to put up. I don't know if it's true, but Kobe, they said, would shoot up 1,000 shots a day. I mean, sometimes Kobe didn't know that he was in the game because he also put up 1,000 shots in the game a couple times, Big C, according to some of his teammates.
I won't take that point. You said leaders lead by example, okay?
Yeah.
When have you seen LeBron get in a fight in an NBA game, Charlton?
Never, Big C. Never.
You haven't.
No.
What did you see the Lakers get in Game 3 this season? They got 2 players suspended for fighting.
Yep.
LeBron was standing right there.
Yeah.
He was trying to break up the mayhem, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's the leader by example. We don't do this crap.
Yeah.
But that shows you the mentality of the players that the Lakers have now is that they're willing to go street and thug on you. Okay? LeBron's being professional. You got, and Brandon Ingram was at half court. It was so important for him to run down and throw a punch.
And he weighs 100 pounds.
You know, he's not thinking about playing basketball, Charles. He's thinking about how can I make a name for myself.
And he only weighs 100 pounds. He couldn't last if somebody went upside his head. But Magic Johnson yelled at Luke Walton. He didn't yell at Ingram. I know they got fined and all, but that leadership thing is by example. You don't. I think he should have yelled at Ingram.
Walton was sitting on the bench when the fight broke out.
Yep.
He wasn't standing there in the middle of the mayhem.
Yeah.
LeBron was trying to break it up. You jump on the coach because you got players that are dysfunctional. You don't want to get rid of these young players because you're saying they're the future of the franchise.
No, they're not.
If they're the future of the franchise, why the hell did you bring in LeBron? You're talking about winning now. You bring in an old guy that's used to winning. But you got these young guys you want to develop. They don't work together cohesively, Charlton. You look at the Warriors. The Warriors will bring in young guys and bring them off the bench, okay? They'll bring in veterans and instill them in the lineup. They'll even bring in veterans and put them on the bench. They do that. They got Cousins. They got Iguodala. And all these other veterans that they got on the bench, Charlton, Livingston. They put them on the bench. They accept the role. They don't say I have to be a star. We enjoy watching the game. We don't even have to pay to get in.
That's true, Big C. The Lakers playing the Timberwolves tonight. It's 7:30 tip-off. Your thoughts on all the garbage that's happening in Minnesota? I mean, ego is one thing, and you want to be right. Obviously, you're a grown man. You got $100 million. You do what you want to do. But at some point in time, life is an hourglass. As a professional athlete, you got to see that hourglass, and your sand is running out. I think there was a show back soap operas called Days of Our Lives, or something about hourglasses. But everyone has an hourglass. All of our lives are running out. It's just a matter of what you do with it. Do you think, when you look at what's happening with Minnesota, are they going to regret the time that they put up so much time into a head case as opposed to dealing with people who want to be there? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, ship Jimmy Butler for John Wall. You got two players that don't want to be in the places that they're in, Charlton. Eat the salary cap hit in Minnesota. But at least you're getting a guard for a guard, Charlton. You got Jimmy Butler in a place where, you know, he's going to be in obscurity in Washington because they're not winning. You got John Wall going to go to Minnesota. It's cold as heck up there. You know, you got to buy himself a fur coat. But, you know, at least he's going to be around some young guys that'll like him, Charlton. He's going to be around Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. That they can absorb him into that organization. Maybe Thibodeau can make a better player out of him. Jimmy Butler goes to Washington. I think he would mesh better with the players in Washington than what he does in Minnesota. What Jimmy Butler has recognized with the players in Minnesota is that they're trying to establish this. They don't want to win, Charlton. They like the Lakers up north, okay? Lakers came from Minneapolis
before
that.
Land of Lakes.
So, you got two teams that are playing similar. You got young guys, and everybody in the NBA wants to be on a commercial. They want to be on some cover of some game, Charlton. That's what everybody is striving for. You know, when you look at the Warriors, you know, the winningest franchise in the NBA over the past 5 years. You don't see players fighting for advertisements. Advertisements come to them. Okay? But when you look at all these other players and you're in these obscure markets, Charlton, you're trying to make yourself known. You know, who knows these players outside of Minnesota? Who knows these players outside of Washington? The national stage doesn't, Charlton. You look at the Greek Freak in Milwaukee. It's one of the top 3 or 4 players in the NBA.
Giannis.
No one knows who he is. Giannis is there, and no one knows who he is. Put him in L.A., put him with the Clippers, and think about how big he would be. He doesn't even have to be the Lakers. Just put him with the Clippers. But you know, when you're in obscurity, think about how good James Harden and Russell Westbrook are. But look at the markets that they're playing in, Charlton. If either one of them was in New York, they'd be touted just like Curry, Durant, and James. They would, but they're not because of the markets that they're in. This is what players strive for, is to expand beyond their market. They know that they have a contract where they're not going to get cut. They got guaranteed money. So they become these loose people, as you would say.
Loose people. What's it say? In loose lips, sink ships, Big C. The Jazz are at home versus the Mavericks tonight, the 76ers. They're on the road at the Pacers. The Nuggets are at the Grizzlies. The Bulls are at the Pelicans tonight. And the Spurs are at the Heat down in Miami. The Knicks are at the Hawks in Atlanta. The Thunders are playing the Cavaliers. And the Pistons are playing the Magic. Last night, the Trailblazers beat the Bucks 118-103. I know Milwaukee's one of the top teams in the East, but when they came out to the West, Big C, they had a hard time. It's hard to beat that Portland Trailblazer team up in Portland. It's amazing how well they play, and really love to see how Damian Lillard plays, whether he's at home or on the road. When his game is on, his game is on. I want to finish out with a little bit of college football, Big C. I want to go down to the state of Florida, the Sunshine State, down there where POTUS likes to fly Air Force One just to go golfing on his own tournament. What a waste of taxpayer money, Big C. I'm sure when he opens up his taxes, because he'll be forced to, we'll see how much money was spent on jet fuel. Florida State, Miami. They're 4-8 in October. All three teams have lost consecutive weekends. Central Florida, they're still undefeated, but the least respected of all those programs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, they're all drawn from the same talent base. When you think about it, except for, Central Florida, they got a quarterback out of Hawaii, which seems to be a hotbed for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Melton is just outplaying everybody in that state.
Yeah.
But on the grander stage, people will say, well, Central Florida's nobody. But, Central Florida it won more games this month than those other three teams combined.
Yeah.
So, people will say, well, look at the points they gave up against Temple. How many points did Oklahoma give up against Texas Tech?
Yeah, a lot.
Oklahoma rose in the polls.
Yeah, they do.
Central Florida fell in the polls.
Yeah.
So when I look at this evaluation process, Charlton, of the voting committee on how you evaluate teams, Charlton.
Yep.
Florida lost and still ranked ahead of LSU lost and still ranked ahead of Central Florida.
That's crazy.
And so it's about the young men in college athletics. And no one looks at it from that perspective. Everybody's saying, well, the school, the program.
Yep.
College football is structured how college football was built.
Yeah.
It's about the players. But, the media has made it so much about the coaches. You think about Michigan. Michigan has lost the game this year.
Yep.
But Harbaugh, all of a sudden, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Not that the players are playing, but Harbaugh's a genius.
Yep.
There hasn't been anybody on Michigan's team made a tackle, interception, reception, run the ball, or throw a touchdown, or kick an extra point.
Yeah.
Harbaugh's done it all.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's become a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Alabama. I mean, Saban's great.
Yeah.
But he hadn't made a tackle in a long time. And I'm still waiting on him to throw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Okay, I am. Dabo Swinney, the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaches, yes, they're the spokesperson for every organization.
They're the ones getting paid.
But it's the players that are putting the product on the field.
Yeah.
And when you take players, and you haven't lost a game in 2 years, and you're telling those players, well, you're not creditable.
Yeah.
You're not reputable enough to represent the NCAA. You stay down there in that corner of the state, Charlton.
Yep.
Because if one of those other teams in Florida only had one loss, they would be ranked, at least in the top 6 in the country.
That's very true. We know that's the case, Big C. As we close out, I want to look at the top 4 teams in college football. Alabama, the Crimson Tide. The Clemson, they're ranked number 2. Notre Dame's number 3. And Michigan's number 4. And I want to get your thoughts on something, because there's always an upset happening someplace. The Hatfield, the McCoy, somebody gets mad at somebody, Big C. Will Ohio State knock Michigan out of the playoffs? And if so, will they climb into that top 4 spot? Also, Syracuse, they pushed Clemson right down to the wire. And people thought, well, Clemson was sleeping in the first half of that game. But really, it shows you how difficult Syracuse can be. Syracuse has a better chance knocking off Notre Dame than they had knocking off Clemson. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is going to be a game up in Yankee Stadium when they play. Dungy is an excellent quarterback at Syracuse.
Yep.
Dino Favors is an outstanding coach. Doesn't get the credit because he's up there in the Northeast.
Yeah.
But he has Syracuse sitting at 7-2 on the season, Charlton.
Yep.
And they play great football up there in the ACC.
Yeah.
So, he's a coach on the rise. And if he goes out and beats Notre Dame, will he get that national recognition that he solely deserves?
Wow.
In knocking off the Irish.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. I don't think Notre Dame has won a national championship since 1988. I think the last time they won a
West
national
Virginia,
championship.
down in Arizona, yeah.
And so it's been a long, long drought for the Irish.
Yeah.
And so when you keep putting a team up on the top of the heap, it's just like when we talked about the Lakers in the NBA.
Yeah.
You keep putting a team up on the heap, but it still comes back to, what have you done for me lately? And I think that was Janet Jackson.
What have you done for me lately? I understand the cue, Big C. I understand the cue. So, I mean, everybody, it's all fair in love and war. You have a chance to compete You have the right to vote. You have a right to do everything. I just want to say Big C Sports is about real sports talk worldwide. You can download the Big C Sports app as the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. We'll cover the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, USL, and of course NCAA sports. We keep it real when it comes to social matters. We're not a dumb sports guy. As two African Americans, of anything that I'm proud of is that we're not dumb. In that we don't play dumb. You can't pull that, well, guys, just talk about sports, just shut up and dribble. We'll never be that. I want to be a beacon of hope for young people, whether it's bringing people closer to God, not preaching, but just saying. Also, I want people to read. If you can't read, Google. I want young people, especially young black boys, when you turn on your sports programs, if you're streaming, everybody's streaming now, please don't just be a sports guy. Be well-rounded. Read a book. Learn about politics. Learn about voter obstruction. The millennials will be, in 2030, 72% of the workforce. Don't let people make you dumb down by just giving you the scores. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we're looking at the NBA tonight. We got a couple of hot contests going on. I'm going to lean back. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I got my moonshine on ice.
Yep.
I'm going to sit back. I got 2 clickers, and I think my neighbors paid their cable bill, so I'm going to be able to watch 2 games at one time tonight, Charlton.
That is, Sally, it's so incredible. It's funnier because I know it's true. People think you're joking, DC, but we're not joking. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.